All right, we're gavelled in, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday, February 4, 2026 meeting of the Transportation Planning Organization, CAC, Citizens Advisory Committee. My name is Rick Fernandez. It's my privilege to chair the committee. Welcome to everyone. We have a good group on hand, and I think one or two online of committee members. Is that correct?
We have at least one committee member so far.
Okay. And to the gallery, welcome. I haven't talked to you since the first. Happy New Year. See some faces there I don't think I've seen since then. All right. Our first order of business is self-introductions. I'll start off. Rick Fernandez, Hispanic representative at large. If we could work around the room clockwise.
Dana Lazarus, appointed by City Councilman Lynn Hurd.
Stephen Hollenkamp, appointed by the City of Plant City.
Joseph Citro, appointed by Commissioner Harry Cohen.
Ed Majewski, appointed by the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority.
Susie Watts, appointed by Commissioner Miller.
Clifford Reese at large.
Stevie Jones, at large.
Ivia Adams at large.
Will Atkins, Planning Commission.
Brandon Wynn on behalf of Commissioner Bowles.
And online.
Reva,
Reva Iman at large.
Only read.
only Reva right now.
Okay. Could we have a declaration of quorum, please?
We have a
All right. Yeah, thank you all very much for making the effort to get here on time. That takes us to public comment, 3 minutes per speaker. Do we have anyone in the room for public comment? Anybody online for public comment?
anyone just speak for public comment? Motion to speak.
That's a negative. All right. Takes us to the chair's report, item 5 on the agenda. Very brief. I'm just going to read off what Sarah was kind enough to send to me in a text a couple days ago. In January, the TPO board approved the 2026 Safety and Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan targets. You will recall that the CAC acted to not recommend approval of these, noting a lack of information. Also, while not an action item for the CAC, the TPO board approved the TPO prioritization process evaluation. Also, as a housekeeping matter, the TPO board will have 2 CAC members on its consent agenda next week. Aya Yassin, representing Temple Terrace, and Brian Nathan at large will be on the consent agenda, and presumably, if approved, would be on the committee as voting members in our for our March meeting. Yeah. Okay. And Chris Vela has joined us online. Hello, Chris. All right.
Hello.
Approval.
Yes, I'm here.
Approval of the minutes. These would be the minutes for the January 7, 2026 meeting of the CAC. That was part of your agenda package. Hopefully you had a chance to review. Do I have a motion to approve? Susie offers the motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Mr. Hollenkamp, Stephen, offers a second. Is there any discussion on the meeting minutes? See none in the room. Is there any discussion online?
Anyone online?
All right, if not, then by acclamation, all in favor of approval, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Please no approval or note approval unanimously. Thank you. Action items. Traffic signal prioritization study. Wade Reynolds. Hey, Wade.
Thank you, Chair, for having me back.
Good to have you.
Let me see if I can get these up.
This is the more fulsome presentation of what you gave us very briefly last time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
There we go. All right. Thank you, CAC members and Chair. I'm Wade Reynolds with the TPO staff and here to present this. My team. Here we go. The purpose of this study was to assess the baseline condition of signals across the county and prepare methodology to assist in prioritizing these signals that are not in a state of good repair. The outcome was to establish a performance-based methodology that we can use to evaluate our list of priority project submissions to repair or replace existing traffic signal infrastructure elements. So there are several benefits to this. One is aiding operations during emergencies. One is adjusting signal timings for planned and unplanned events. The biggest unplanned event we have, incidentally, is traffic crashes, and those can create problems, but in real time, they can do things to work traffic around these. Supporting our traffic studies related to Vision Zero and supporting our partner agencies as a resource for coordinating improvements or enhancing operations. So we have done the inventory and the methodology and the ranking of intersections, which are in the reports. I will come back to some changes that have happened since we last saw you, partly as a result of your actions. So we have approximately 1,236 signals throughout the county. 592 in Hillsborough, 592 in the city of Tampa, 56 in Plant City, and several in Temple Terrace that are not shown here because they are managed by Hillsborough County. So prioritization considerations for structure, we have the type, condition, and age of the structure. For the cabinet, we have the age, the mounting type, and the height of the mounting. For location, we have within a floodplain, on an evacuation route, or within hurricane wind zones. And for technology, we have flood sensors and UPS, which is uninterrupted power supply. I've asked the consultants to widen the language on the uninterrupted power supply because we think of uninterrupted power supply as being a little broader, but it turns out there are several different types, and UPS is pretty specific. They've been able to daisy chain several signals to generators after emergencies. This all happened after Milton. And they've done things where they can run it directly off of an emergency vehicle. So if any of those capabilities are in place, we've tried to accommodate them. So ranking those intersections, we focused on the most vulnerable locations, assigned a priority rank to each signal element and a score to those. And then we compared the overall score of each signal. So there were a few examples here that we gave. The two highest scoring out of these were Kennedy and Gardenia and US 92 and 579, which is Mango Road, and US 92 is Martin Luther King. Or no, it's it's US 92. Excuse me. So those higher ones, those ones that scored higher got a lot of points for being in a floodplain evacuation route and for having span wire and wood supports on the poles and wires holding them up, which are more vulnerable and can accommodate fewer signal hits. So there were some challenges with data availability, but we've been able to work through those. The different agencies with the jurisdictions have done a lot of data gathering, as well as FDOT having a project to gather data on all the signals within Hillsborough County on all District 7 signals, I should say. And state roads cover a good percentage of the ones that we had. So we are very thankful for that collaboration. We did do some field visits to basically look at different signals along the corridor. This is US 41. We went and did some field verifications. This happens to be within the floodplain and on our evacuation route, so that was one we really wanted to look at. Similar story with Hillsborough Avenue. This is from the county line to Racetrack Road. They experienced a lot of issues during Hurricanes Helene and Milton, and we thought it was a good example corridor to take a look at. So upon implementation, this will allow for agencies to submit SU, that's Surface Transportation Block Grant funding requests for traffic signal infrastructure. We will have a standardized data collection and repository, and hopefully we will be able to do some more proactive repair and replacement rather than reacting to a problem when it comes up. So changes based on committee and board recommendations. We added 2 additional points for being on the high entry network. That was a suggestion of this committee, so we thank you very much. For ADA compliance, Ms. Acosta, I thank you for the suggestion, and we will review those at the time of application. The field reviews, just with the budget we have for this project for all 1,200 and change signals, looking at four corners for each of those, it just was
feasible, yeah.
impractical at this time, but it's a great suggestion. And when we have a smaller number of applications come in the door, we will be taking a look at those for ADA pedestrian button recall accessibility.
Thank you.
So the recommended action is to recommend that the TPO board approve the traffic signal prioritization study and direct staff to integrate the methodology into the list of priority projects. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, Wade, thank you. All right, Q&A. Dana?
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, seems good. For the ADA compliance of like the buttons and whether they're there and whether they work, can that just be like something that they all get evaluated for when, as you're going out to upgrade them or whatever? Is that something that can be on the back end?
Any upgrades are supposed to include ADA compliance. I mean, there are, the Americans with Disabilities Act, when you're starting to do dirt on the ground around there, that's when you're supposed to bring those into compliance. But I realize that there have probably been things that were omitted or not perfectly brought up. We have used the example of where it's 3 feet away across grass from the curb, and that would not actually be ADA. We can ask the jurisdictions to collect that data, but they may be collecting different data. Really, the time that we have any power over it is when those applications come in. And I would like to commit to more, but that's sort of what I'm able to commit to.
Any other questions here to my left?
Yes,
Mr. Citro?
are these signals all interactive with a certain database? And the reason why I ask that, every time I'm driving down the street and a signal goes out, I wind up calling some law enforcement to say this signal is out. Can we have a spontaneous where if it goes out, it can connect with law enforcement?
That's a good question.
That's a heavy sigh.
No, it's a very good question, and I know that, so all of the Hillsborough County signals are controlled from a control center and connect to that. All of the Tampa signals similarly to the Tampa one, which is located in the Expressway Authority building over on Murray. They should be able to tell is what is difficult about that question. They should be able to tell, but I don't know if the response time is there, and I'm not sure how that works for notifying emergency vehicles.
Because when you said you had the UPS there to keep power on, will that power also notify authorities that, hey, I'm out, I'm blinking, I'm not responding?
There should currently be a notification. That's really what I'm trying to say. And it may be a response time getting emergency services there. That's the issue. But they should be able to tell if a signal is out from the control centers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Ms. Acosta?
Wade, I'm so happy to hear you revisiting this topic and bringing us up to date. And I'm glad that I thank you for taking the CAC questions from myself and others into consideration. I want to say back to you to make sure I heard you correctly, that in the assessment of prioritization, there is nothing that has a value in the point structure that pertains to anything but vehicles.
A lot of it pertains to the physical structure of the signals and the supporting elements themselves.
Right.
Um,
As they serve the intersection or the place for moving vehicles.
That's a fair point. Yes, I
Okay.
would say it's largely vehicularly driven.
Okay, so I mean, no disrespect whatsoever, but I hope that the TPO in all of its projects going forward will remember that the utilization of this space is for multimodal, and as Dana pointed out, being able to connect with buses and, things like that. So
Signals may have infrastructure to connect with buses, and one other thing that I just remembered is that there are the induction loops that you drive over, the magnetic loops that cause the signal to change
Trigger,
if it's not timed. I have seen lately, and this is a recent thing, but they are doing them on bike lanes where the bike would activate that on some corridors. I noticed it as part of the I-4 frame project. So they're connecting and upgrading the signals basically parallel to I-4. And I was surprised to see those loops going in under the bike lane queuing area. But that's the only other thing I'm aware of.
Okay, and that just leads me to my question then is, has there been engagement with the city's smart mobility unit? Because that's kind of where this comes into play if the signals are talking to the rest of the system and detection of a variety of vehicle types is emerging.
We've engaged heavily with the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County. Margaret Kugel's team and others at the city have been our main point of contact.
Okay,
I can't speak to what level they are integrating it into their operations. But we are hoping for a lot of submissions from them so we can
Right.
get some signals approved.
fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions over here to my left? Ed, Susie, Chris? No? All right, right side. Anybody over here? Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wade, this may not be within the scope of this study, but how are new traffic signals approved?
New traffic signals are subject to warrant requirements. They have to have a certain amount of volume at those intersections, basically to justify it. I believe those warrants come from the Florida Department of Transportation. And I am not an expert on the warrant for a new signal, but there are thresholds. And then, of course, they have to find funding for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else over here to my right? Will Atkins?
How do we ensure that when they go to get the capital improvement funding to actually upgrade the box, that, for instance, we're not prioritizing things that are in floodplains, that they're not going to raise above? How do we make sure that they will raise?
That's a great point. As part of that application, and we would be the ones assigning the money to it through any applications, we would have a little bit of a bully pulpit in that case to ask for those improvements. And those are some of the improvements that we are hoping and would ask them to make as part of an application.
So that we're not prioritizing flooded ones just for them to get flooded again.
No, we would not put money towards something that we thought was going to create an additional risk into the future.
You good? Yes. Brandon?
Behind us, yeah, let's go.
You good? Yeah. Any questions online?
Fine. Any questions?
I do have a question. And I know you said ADA wasn't included, but somewhere down the line, somewhere down the line that it can be. In those concentrated areas where there's heavy flooding that, where those assisted living senior facilities are, I think they need to really pay attention to those areas when it comes to the ADA portion of it as well.
I thank you for that comment. I do agree that areas around schools or around elderly concentrations or other vulnerable groups should be given all kinds of considerations. We do not have specific points awarded based on geography like that. The only geography based ones we have are the floodplain, the coastal high hazard area, and now the high entry network, unless I'm missing.
Okay.
And for the record, that was Reva Inman speaking to you virtually. Any other questions online? Anyone else in the room? Okay, it looks pretty settled in here. All right, we have the ask slide.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Recommend the TPO board approve the traffic signal prioritization study and direct staff to integrate the methodology into the list of priority projects Is there an enabling motion? Susie Watts offers the motion. Is there a second? I've got a tie here. Evia.
You can pick whichever way you decide.
Whichever one. Ms. Adams, the tie goes to Ms. Adams. All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? See no more discussion in the room. Is there any more discussion online?
Discussion.
Everybody find their mute button, please. Okay. All right, I see no discussion in the room, nothing online. That being the case, I'll ask for a vote by acclamation. All in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign.
Nay.
All right, one nay.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. All right, that takes us to action item 7 Bravo, tip amendment, part new compressed natural gas buses. Elizabeth Watkins.
Good evening, CAC. I have a tip amendment for you today, probably one that I have been the most excited about in my career because it's such great news. So the amendment surrounds a recent federal grant that HART won to purchase compressed natural gas buses, which are cleaner than traditional diesel buses, which emit a lot of particulate matter into the atmosphere. So Part One, its largest grant and it's in the agency's history, it was $32 million to replace 33 aging diesel buses. And with this investment, Part will be able to complete their transition to 100% low emissions fixed route fleet. They'll be the first agency in Florida to do that, which I think is a tremendous accomplishment in its own right. With this investment, not only will it be purchasing these cleaner buses, but it will also be expanding a training program and apprenticeship to serve as workforce development and train members of our community to help service these vehicles. This is an example of one of the HART CNG buses that are on the street right now. You always know it's one of the CNG because the engine is actually on the hood of the vehicle. So they are much cleaner than diesel and have some operating efficiencies as well compared to their diesel counterparts. So a few of the benefits of moving to a CNG fleet: one, it will reduce certain types of air pollution. 2, will help reduce some maintenance costs. And then 3, will help improve that service reliability because there's just newer buses that will be on the street, meaning less maintenance, meaning no issues getting buses to replace ones if they fail, because they are going to be brand new once they hit the street. So what's actually changing? So this project was recently awarded, so it needs to be added into the TIP. So what you'll see on this TIP page shows that $32 million of federal funds, as well as an $8 million of local match, bringing the total project cost to about $40 million to replace the buses, as well as that technician program. So the recommended action before you today is to recommend that the TPO board approve this amendment to the Transportation Improvement Program so that HART can go forth and continue to access those funds that they were awarded from the Federal Transit Administration. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you. And your excitement fills the room. All right, Q&A in the room. Ms. Lazarus.
Thank you. I don't know if you can answer this. It's not about, I mean, I'm gonna vote yes on this. We won the grant. It's awesome. But I have questions about, like, is HART going to retire buses? Is it bringing new buses in? Is it going to be able to expand its frequency? Oh, thanks, Suze. Is it gonna be able, are y'all gonna be able to, basically, I'm wondering about operations and how operations is gonna be funded to put these new buses on the street.
Yeah, thanks. Good evening. This is Brother Garcia, HART staff. Good question. So this is merely replacement. So when we buy buses, it's either replacement or expansion. We're focused on replacement because it's aging buses. We are not in a position to expand the fleet at this time. So these are our oldest buses, so like 2011 to 2013. They're diesels and they would all be replaced with this grant.
So all 33 buses, there will be 33 buses that are in less than great repair, good repair, that are going to be taken out of the fleet. What happens to them out of curiosity? Do they come backup buses or?
They get retired. There is something called contingency. I'm not super sure how that works. That's for like emergency. So there is like a contingency that's kept. And then there's also like retirement. So ultimately they get optioned. There used to be one at MLK M50 that some random person bought. It was there abandoned for the longest time. So that's how they get retired.
I'm also curious about how it's going to affect reducing costs for the agency on maintenance and repairs and delays for the system, like how it's gonna affect both like funding, money, budget balancing, but also reliability of the system.
Well, in terms of budget, maintenance, they are somewhat comparable. They have diesel and CNG, they have different challenges. Fuel wise, it's less expensive. CNG is cheaper than diesel. Also, CNG, we have a direct line at the garage. We don't have to truck it in like we do diesel. In terms of reliability, newer fleet means less breakdowns. So less chances for a bus to break down, and us having to swap it and cost delays and that sense.
Questions? Mr. Citro?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Was this grant specific for vehicles?
It's the FTA lower no emissions grant. It was the largest one in Florida too.
And why natural gas? Why not electric?
Great question.
If we want to really save the environment.
Well, it's there is some challenges with other like electric technology. It's infrastructure. Like it wouldn't just be for the vehicles. We would need to invest a lot in infrastructure. Among other things, that have maintenance facilities not equipped and for things like electric buses, which is that's why it's our other priority to replace the heavy maintenance facility. There's also a political reality to it. I have friends at LA Metro that applied for zero emission buses and they did not get awarded. All their friends who got awarded are like us, low emission, PMG or other low emission, but no zero.
We can see the way the federal government's going. To follow up on Ms. Lazarus' question, the resale of the buses that are going to be retired, how is that money going to be recirculated into our?
That is a great question. I don't have an answer.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Other questions here to my left? I'll start with you, Ms. Acosta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you give us a general sense of the timing of when these new vehicles will be received? And can we put a pin in the CAC calendar to perhaps circle back and get an update on the total if positive effects that even, the ripple effects of fewer breakdowns, more reliable service and perhaps greater revenue, like the other things that happen as a result of these new fleet?
Yeah, great question. So ordering buses is complicated right now. There's a 20-month lead time.
Oh, my, wow.
So we're hoping the money to come to be effective this year.
Yeah.
So we hit the bank account, if you will, and then put the order, and there's a 20-month lead time. So late 27, early 28,
Okay.
that's when we would be fully CNG.
Thank you.
Mr. Merchowski.
Yeah, I would just comment, at our last meeting, I know I and some others expressed concern that in the performance measures for HARC, we were seeing really a degradation in the time between service calls. And this just seems like a huge positive step that, like you said, is going to reduce that. So it seems all to the good to me.
Ms. Watts.
Mr. Chair, I have a question just because, there was certain cars that got water exposed and the engine blew up, okay? So with this technology, how is it with flooding? How is it with fire? is it perhaps higher risk, lower risk? What's, I'm wondering about that impact.
Yeah, that's a good question. What I can tell you, I don't have a full answer, but what I can tell you is that they are a bit more sensitive, CNG buses, in terms of like fuel systems and like emission control. So those things need to be looked at more frequently than diesel. And they also like determine the life of the vehicle. Like for diesel, the main thing is the engine. For CNG, the most delicate part is those components, and not looking into the good cost things like tires, but we have a pretty solid maintenance routine, so that wouldn't be. In terms of flooding, I'm not sure what the effect is.
Cliff, did I see your hand up? No, okay, right side. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick question on mechanics. How many mechanics do we have now?
Not super sure. I think we're in the 20s.
20, and we're going to expand that to, we're going to,
So, well, the apprenticeship program is more to create a pipeline so that, we train students and they eventually become our employees, and when those people retire, we have place to build them in. Mechanics is a very competitive field. Like there is a lot of private mechanic shops that pay a lot better than the public sector. So it's really hard to retain mechanics. That's part of it.
so is that potentially going to be a contractor position, or are they all going to always remain employees of,
No, we have no plans to contract it out. They are unionized positions.
and the 20 or so that you have now are going to be expanded beyond 20 with the new buses?
Well, it's related to the number of buses we have. On a total with one change, because we're retiring 33 and adding 33. So as long as we don't have more buses, we don't need more mechanics.
Okay, so that's going to be kind of a flat in terms of total overall cost. It's going to remain practically the same.
Yeah, like the budgeted FTEs, if you will, would stay the same.
Okay. But because you're going to have less maintenance, hopefully, they're not going to be as busy, hopefully.
Yeah, they still have like very strict regulations they have to stick to, like preventative maintenance cycles and things like that. So they'll be busy.
Yep, yep.
Questions? Ms. Adams.
For the 32 million, how much of that money is going toward the buses? And how much of that money will go toward training?
Okay. So a bus is almost $1 million, 800,000. Changes every year, goes up every year, but right now it's about 800,000. So yeah, about 32 of that is for buses, and then the difference is toward the program.
That it? You good? Will, Brandon? Online?
Two people, his hand raised, and Chris Vella has his hand raised.
Okay, Chris Vella, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. So this is Chris Vella. I do have two questions. One, is there any impact to the union, or has the Union of Heart commented on this change of equipment? And then two, is there or will there be any way to find out who is the supplier of propane? Just kind of piggybacking off of Joe Citro's comment. There's been numerous like local propane distributors have had environmental concerns and disasters and accidents, and it'd just be interesting to see where we're procuring that gas from. Thanks.
Yeah, so in terms of the union, the transition to CNG started in 2015. So if there were any comments that would have happened then, recently, no, we haven't had any comments union related as for this transition of technology. We've already been working with it for over 10 years at this point. In terms of, what was the second question? So I'm not sure if CNG qualifies for propane, but yes, the CNG supplier, I don't know who that is. I just know we have a direct line from it. Yeah.
Any other
Okay,
questions online? Brian, Nathan? Did you say?
Nathan has a question. Yes.
All right, Brian, you're recognized.
Thank you. Regarding the apprenticeships, are these registered apprenticeship programs? If so, who are they registered with? The State Department of Education, the DOL? And where's the curriculum coming from?
It's a partnership with Hillsborough College. Does that answer your question?
Sort of, I'll be honest with you. If they're a registered provider, they'll be on the State Department of Education's website as a registered apprenticeship program, being that their curriculum will be approved and monitored by either the state or the DOL as appropriate. And just wanted to make sure it wasn't some random third-party vendor is all. Thank you.
Anything else online?
Anyone else online? I see no one else online wishing to speak on this.
Okay, we're back in the room. Dana Lazarus.
2 quick questions. How many total buses are in the fleet?
132.
And is there a study that Hart or maybe someone else did on comparing CNG to electric to gasoline or diesel? The costs and benefits?
Not in recent history that I recall. We did do a CNG versus diesel comparison for this presentation, and kind of Melissa kind of walked through it already. We have a whole email thread that I am not going to be successful at explaining because it's very technical, but yeah, no, electric, not recently.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else to my left? No, anything else to my right? Anything else in the ether? Nope, okay, guess we're in for a landing then. Recommended action, the ask slide is on the wall. Recommend thank you, Will. Recommend the TPO board approve the amendment to the FY 26 through 30 Transportation Improvement Program. Is there an enabling motion? Ms. Watts offers the motion. Ms. Acosta offered the second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, take the vote by acclamation, please. All in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? All right, please note unanimous approval. Thank you, both of you.
That's exciting.
Nice.
You
Get the money.
Yeah.
Good job.
All right, that ends our action items. We're into status reports. Crash mitigation and congestion management process. Praveen, sorry, I can't do the last name. I'll leave it to you to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. So good evening, everyone. I'm Harry Walsh on TPO staff. Just give you a brief introduction before I pass it along to Praveen Hasumarthan. So I'm the project manager for the crash mitigation and congestion management process update that we're going to be performing. So we're not going to be asking for any vote, of course, tonight. We just want to inform you about what we're doing, what the purpose of this is, what we've done in the past, and get your thoughts now. So when we come back to you in May, we have more substantial discussion. So this, a congestion management process is a required document for all MPOs. So it's something that we've had, but this represents a really significant update and kind of a facelift for all of it. And we also want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success for being able to continuously update this, because this will ultimately produce a document like the long-range transportation plan or the TIP or the list of priority projects. But we're not calling it a document, it's a process, because it's something that we're identifying data sources and ultimately taking the goals from the LRTP, data sources that we can provide, and then identifying hotspots that we should be focusing on for projects across a specific member. And so this is something that after we do this required update and this process has kicked off in October. Obviously, we're here in front of you in February, and then we're going to be concluding this in June. We'll have to conclude with our UPWP concluding in June as well. But then after that, we're hoping to continue to regularly update this. And so I'm really excited for you to see what we've done so far, and then collect any and all thoughts and feedback so we can get into the substance of it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Praveen to give you an overview.
Thanks, Harry. Thank you, everybody. For this meeting, I'll provide a high-level overview of the overall CMCMP process in this project in particular. This has mainly around 7 steps. We have completed 4 activities or 4 tasks as of right now. And I'll give an overview of all of those and where we are headed in the next couple of months. Just a quick background, adding on to what Harry mentioned. A CMP is a congestion management process. It's a federally required process that all the MPOs, PPOs with a population of more than 200,000 in the urban areas have to develop. This is a systematic and a regionally accepted approach for managing traffic congestion. Again, as Harry mentioned, this is not intended to be like a once and done a document, but more of a process which identifies a up-to-date information on the system performance, but also identifies strategies for how to improve those congestion aspects that so as a part of this process, a framework to continuously monitor those congestion and hotspots is also required. As a part of this project, we are calling this as a CMCMP, adding on the importance of crash mitigation to the congestion management processes. There are 7 steps, as I mentioned. The first 4 that we wrapped up are developing regional objectives, making sure that they are consistent with the goals identified in the long-range transportation plan. Identifying a CMCMP network on which the performance, congestions, and safety will be monitored on. Identifying performance measures. What do we want to measure our goals by? And collecting the data. What all data is out there that is specific for this monitoring over time. The next 3 are using this data and the performance measures to analyze the system performance and identifying the hotspots. And developing strategies to mitigate the congestion that we have identified. And then finally, the last task is to develop a framework for that monitoring over time. So I'll quickly go through each of these tasks. I won't go through each of them, what you see on the screen here. But as I mentioned, the regional objectives that we developed for the congestion CMCMP project align with the goals identified in the LRTP. The smart cities, state of good repair and resilience, Vision Zero, real choices when not driving, and major projects for economic growth. Each of these objectives are directly tied to the goals, and they cover network reliability, resiliency, safety, and improving access for multimodal aspects. Next crucial aspect is to define the network within the geographic boundary to identify what portions of the region we would be monitoring the congestion and crashes on. We have to identify some factors to make sure the process is systematic. So we've listed some of the factors that we considered and the criteria. First of all, the national highway system, state highway system, and the strategic intermodal system are such a crucial components and carry heavy traffic volumes of regional significance. So they should be part of the CMCMP. Any roadways that have a current and a future projected traffic volumes of more than 5,000 are also considered as a part of this network. Prioritizing facilities which are currently part of the high engineering network that have been identified, but also with bus network coverage, truck corridor, and also part of the trail network are considered in the CMCP. Most importantly, the availability of data is also a big factor. We are using speed data coming in from probe data. There are vendors which provide speed information on the roadways, and that's available on most of the major roadways. We're identifying the roadways which have this coverage. Finally, when you apply all this criteria and look at it in a map, there will be some disconnects from a continuity perspective. So we ensure that there is connectivity across this network as well. Resulting coverage, the network is what you see here. I'm sorry, the colors may be a little different or difficult to read, but what you see here is in the red are the national highway state highway and the CIS network and all the other roadways in blue color. Next is the performance measures. As I said, these measures are across safety, mobility, reliability, and regional connectivity, and support the objectives that we've developed earlier on. And we'll be looking at by modes, highway type, as well. Again, this table on this page, this slide and the next slide identifies various performance measures that will be developed to track how these objectives are being met and the goals. Again, I won't go through them in detail. There are several of these measures. For each of these objectives, we have at least one measure, if not more, so that we have a comprehensive way to track the performance. Again, these are across safety, mobility, and reliability aspects. There is one, you will see an asterisk here, average job accessibility. That's a measure that we are looking at what the source is. So that's currently under investigation to make sure we have continuous data coverage. And where do we get the data to calculate these measures? It comes from various sources. We wanted to make sure that they are trustworthy, but also updatable. As Harry mentioned, this process is going to be repeated over time. So we wanted to make sure that these data sources are updatable over time. So they come from Florida Department of Transportation, several national data sets like American Community Survey and so on, but also from agencies like HART, TPO, and others. Again, we listed here some specific data sets from these agencies as well. Finally, the next steps where we are right now is using all this information that we have gathered and the performance measures. We are identifying the hotspots across congestion and safety aspects. And we will develop a toolbox of strategies to mitigate these congestion and crashes that we have identified. And we will stratify them based on various contexts, the roadway, modal options, as well as feasibility of implementation. And then we will identify and prioritize them for short-term implementation. Finally, the framework for monitoring these performance and tracking over time will also be developed, and how the CMCMP can be updated and monitored in the future will be developed as well. I think that's the end of the presentation. So if you have any questions, you can clear.
All right, left side over here, Ms. Lazarus.
So this is just a status report. So are you looking for feedback or ideas on like everything presented?
Yeah, essentially, any thoughts you have, we just want to show you kind of what it is right now before we've done all of the work of selecting the hotspots and everything. So please, anything in it.
And with the study, the result, is that going to be recommendations for like implementing the strategies to reduce congestion?
Yeah, generally, so the result will be kind of several things that all interconnect. One will be hotspots. So these could be safety hotspots, like high safety incidents or high incidents of congestion. We understand that they may be different. Some places will just kind of be rough for everything, but we may have a few different lists. We'll also have this toolbox that we're going to work with the Cambridge team to develop what you can do to address those things, what has worked in other areas. And then we will have a case study in this of how you use the toolbox to address these hotspot areas. But the purpose of what a CMP is supposed to do, and then with our safety aspects added, is just to say, here are the rough areas. Here's what you could do about it. Does anyone have a project idea? And then the actual development of projects is separate. But so it's going to give at least those two aspects, if that makes sense.
Mr. Hollenkamp.
Yeah, a couple questions. Kittleson, the engineering firm, they have a tool out that feels like it'd be perfect for this. Basically does pulls and crash data and vehicular data and operations data. And it's one platform to like assess all these components at once. I don't know how you're doing this analysis, but I wanted to point that out because I just saw a presentation on it. It's pretty dope. Second, for the bike ped considerations, like this bike ped safety stuff, I'm wondering how you're approaching getting, how you're approaching that, if you have certain safety measures you're looking at, or if you're just looking at crash data, or if you're doing anything besides crash data. I'm really curious about.
Absolutely. So, to your first question, I'll say one of the things that was really important to us is we obviously are enlisting help to do this kind of big facelift for the CMCP, but we didn't want to be tied to any specific tool or product or consultant, frankly, to have to continue to do this. We wanted TPO staff to be able to do these updates as frequently or as infrequently as is necessary. So we are going right to data sources to get the data, which are all those performance measures that are listed, and then we're going to be going through and using them to identify these hotspots. And then it just basically we wanted full bit data and things that we can always get. I know there are existing tools, we have access to some of them. But that was kind of the whole ethos behind this. So that's kind of why we're not using that specifically, but I'm sure that's excellent. And then for bike head, and yeah, I'm actually just step in on some of this. Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing that comes to my mind is in the performance measures that we listed out, there are related measures related to a non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries that we need to track. Not only that, speeding related crashes is a metric that we'll be looking at as well. So when we break down the safety related data, we can break down by the crashes as well. And that will help us when you look at from overlay that on top with congestion, we'll be able to identify where those hotspots are, and related to that, we can identify some specific strategies.
And I'll just add quickly that we are only going to be looking at bike ped issues that are on also like roadways that also we probably have car congestion, car safety issues as well, because we're not looking at like trail data just for bike ped. We're kind of doing it in all encompassing ways, including auto freight as well.
Thanks.
Down the left side, Jeff? No.
Not right now.
Christine?
Can you put the slide up again that talks about the performance measures that might be, there, okay, thank you. So my question is, correct me if I'm wrong, but the definition of how we perform, how we determine whether a roadway or is successful is called level of service. And level of service kind of has a relationship with, how many cars move through as quickly as possible. And A is flying through and F is at a crawl, right? But F roads are safer because you don't have the velocity, the speed. So I'm kind of just trying to reconcile crash mitigation and congestion mitigation when we rate the success of a road. We classify it. I always found that to be really ironic. Like if you have kids and you put a report card on the fridge, you'd want A's across the board, but A's are very dangerous for people not in cars, A roads. So can you speak to that?
Sure. So you are absolutely correct. And that's something that we realized starting this effort is, yeah, you're going to have, if the cars are going faster, crashes are going to be much deadlier and there's going to be more injuries from them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we were trying to do is take something that is federally required, which is this congestion management process, which that ultimate goal is make everything go fast. And so we said that is missing an aspect of what we actually want out of our roadways. And so we added in the crash mitigation to try to address that. We understand that those two are, I wouldn't say necessarily in conflict, but they can sometimes be in different directions.
Yeah.
So what we're hoping to do, and obviously a lot of this is just static lists right now, but something that we are working on in the background that will hopefully we will be able to show you the next time we come to this committee is some of the overlaps. Like if you take some of the data and start putting it in like a little GIS map, and then you can toggle between the different layers, you start to see different things emerge and clusters emerge. And so that's one of the reasons, kind of going back to the other gentleman's question, why we're using so many different performance measures instead of just an out of the box tool, is you want to just have everything out there. And then we can look and say, all right, we can see this area is unsafe, but very fast, or it's actually a mixture of two. So we just are trying to put out all the data at once, but we do understand that
It's balancing act.
that it is a balancing act. Exactly.
So my final question is, so far, is is Hillsborough County or is RTPO the first to add crash mitigation to this federally required congestion? Or are there other communities that you've worked with that where you've seen success? To blend these two sometimes conflicting objectives?
Not necessarily, and the federal guidance as it's a little open-ended. They wanted to make sure, give the leeway to the local agencies to set their own priorities. So when we looked at some of the peer agencies and the peers congestion management processes, some of them have included crash aspects. So from that perspective, it's not unique, but the important factor would be to consider that safety aspects as a part of overall rubric when you identify these hotspots is an important. Not just measuring for the sake of measuring, but taking that overall thing.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Ms. Watts?
Thank you, Chairman. So you're going to identify problems. You have a set of possible solutions. Great. But I know, then how do we get to funding? Are you guys just the data gatherers and then you're going to knock on Plant City's door and say, hey, you have this problem, so fund it? I don't know.
Yeah, then, well, okay, yeah, there's certain levels in multiple things in that. So the purpose of this effort is specifically not to generate projects, but to just identify the hotspots and blue boxes. Projects do come in with the other aspects and the other core documents that we have as a TPO. That's where the LRTP comes in. That's where the TID and the log come in, is the actual projects. But I would say essentially, yes, we are going to be asking for our collaborating organizations to be pitching these projects. But the point of this is to make it a little bit easier to start forming the conversation about, all right, we can look at these maps that they've collected and this bit looks rough. We should probably work on that.
I have a
clarify, just to add on quickly to Harry's point, the TPO does not own or operate any of these like on the road transportation systems. So we can't do something ourselves. We're trying to encourage our partners to, and that goes back to Harry's point of providing data and providing support, but we don't actually own or operate the roadways ourselves.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I have one other, I've been here since 91 and I've seen a dramatic increase in people running red lights. Is that something that you measure or you only measure the crash?
See, I don't know if we're separating out red lights.
That specifically is not a measure that we have identified right now. It would be a proxy, to be considered with some of the speeding related crashes. But that crashes at signalized intersections, possibly through red light. There's always a big concern, but I think from the perspective of this project, that's not considered. But the measures that were identified
would probably capture it if it crashes.
Yeah, absolutely. And just generally, we're hoping that this can be a flexible process. We're kind of, like I said, we're doing a big major update this time, but we're keeping track of all the work we're doing, how we're getting the data. So in the future, if we decide something is necessary to include, or we include something that's not necessary, it should be much easier for us to do that going forward. So that's an excellent point. Thank you.
Cliff, anything? Right side? Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question on the timing.
Yes.
Of identifying a hotspot. How long does it take to identify a hotspot? Does it have to be over a period of 6 months, a year, or it be considered a hotspot with crashes every month or every other day? I mean, what is the criteria there?
Single data?
Yeah, we are looking at annual data right now. The 2024 is the latest year which has complete set of data, including traffic, speeds, crash related information. because some of this information, I mean, even though we're in 2026, the complete data set is only available for 24 because of the, inherent lag in the data that comes in. So the idea is that as the TPO updates in the future, that will get updated to 25.
Okay, so it takes a year to identify a hotspot. Essentially.
I would not say it will take a year to update, but it will take the data that the refresh of the data that comes in for the process to be started, that takes roughly a year. And then once we have the framework that at the end of this project, the framework that we're going to identify, that will help to use the data and generate these. I don't want to speculate at this point how much time, because I would rather let this project run and let the team do.
Okay, yeah. If I ask for a stoplight to be put in at a particular intersection, you guys are gonna look at it for like 6 months before you do anything.
Well, one thing we're trying to do is we want to make sure that we can update this all at once.
Right.
So there are some data sources that update much faster than that,
Okay.
but all of them don't. A lot of them have a significant lag, especially I know like the crash data that's one of the more frequently updated ones. Even that is maybe a 2 to 3 month lag.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the fastest we could do. So,
Right.
but your point stands.
All right,
I have a question regarding, sorry, I'm losing my voice, the date of good repair. So I see it says breaking down like rainfall, storms, evacuation. Is that like, because like downtown, a regular day could get flooded versus like a hurricane? So will the data be broken down when it comes to congestion based on like natural disasters? Because our region specifically has a specialty in that.
Sure. So I believe, are we breaking that down any further? I thought we were just keeping it at general, like percentage of miles exposed to flooding.
Yes, we're keeping it at the high level of percentage of miles exposed to like these three metrics. We wanted to be consistent with some of the state level resilience action plans that are being looked at as well. But mainly rainfall, flooding, storm surge, and sea level rise.
Because I'm thinking like sometimes congestion is only because of the storm. So your numbers may be off. You may plan all of this for this day, but a big hurricane comes through and none of us can get out of here. So I'm trying to see if that can be figured in those one-off emergencies.
Absolutely. That's a good thing. I'm gonna note that. Well, we're gonna explore that. Anyways, not on this.
anything else here to the right? Will, anything? You good?
Okay.
Brandon?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I had 2 questions. I guess in terms of when hotspots are identified and is that information gonna be publicly available, and is the methodology behind it also gonna be accessible to us?
Yes and yes, first of all, and I'll add to something that won't be a part of this, but still that project I'm hoping to maybe do in the future is I want to take all this. It does have to be a document for federal reporting, but I think just the document sitting there is not as useful. I'm hoping to be able to put this on a dashboard online, like some other, I know Atlanta has, their equivalent organization has done that for theirs. And it's just nice and easy. You can click through and see the top 10 bottlenecks, top 10 safety incidents. So I'm hoping that that'll be nice and available just on our website. That's the idea. We want this to be open and transparent.
That's awesome. I totally appreciate that. My last question, I guess, in terms of, my God, it totally just hit me, so never mind.
You're way too young to be having senior moments. We'll come back. It'll come back to. A quick question, kind of random. Last month, we had Connor McDonald in here. Y'all know Connor?
Of course.
Yeah, he comes in here and gives us, I don't like to use the word targets, but in any event, he forecasts how many people we're going to kill, from year to year. The information that he gathers for his, what's it called? The 2026 safety plan targets. Do you guys talk to each other and share data? That
Absolutely.
there's a Venn diagram and you all interact?
Yeah, Connor's actually, Elizabeth's still here. Connor and I are both on Elizabeth's team, so we talk very frequently. And that, as well as the state of the system report, is all going to be, all of them talk to each other, including this document. Like we talk, and these documents are supposed to inform and be informed by each other, the data that we find, the data that we find. So this, again, is just supposed to identify hotspots, but then the targets are also going to be interwoven into this as well, but they are separate, but we are talking. I feel like I'm not answering your question
No,
correctly.
you are. I just want to make sure you guys are aware
Oh,
of each other.
yeah,
Yeah.
very much aware, yeah.
Was that state of the system report That was in the email that I sent to all the committee members that were looking for feedback from it. We didn't include it in your agenda today because we didn't think we had time. But Elizabeth is here, and if there is time and questions of the committee in perhaps unfinished and new business, she might be able to address some of them because she is openly seeking your feedback on the state of the system report, which is that companion piece Harry mentioned. There's performance measures, there's this CMCMP and the state of the system, and all of those are very data related and serve different purposes. The state of the system is a snapshot in time of how we're doing. Wanted to put that plug out there when you mentioned it.
Before I take another loop around the track in here, is anybody online with a hand up? All right, Chris, you're recognized.
Thank you. I have a question. I am familiar with your company, the Cambridge Semantics, and I was wondering if I know that you worked on, I wouldn't say directly, but just sparing the managed lanes, the express toll lanes on I-4. And I am a little concerned about that. So I got two questions. One, would you be gathering data for the TPO to build a case to use managed lanes in Hillsborough County? And then two, do any of your targets actually even look at environmental justice issues with transportation? Thank you.
First, are you familiar with the project that the gentleman is?
Not personally familiar with,
No, that's fine then. So it seems, sorry, and again, I'm with TPO staff and Praveen, he is with Cambridge Systematics, but he was not on the team that was working on that directly, so I don't think we can speak to that with sophistication.
Chris, we've recently gotten feedback on environmental justice and how the TPO is able to use funds to incorporate that or not. So I think that is a separate conversation, and we're happy to have that with this committee, but there have been executive orders rescinded. And with those, the rescission of those executive orders, we've received very clear guidance on TPO funds and how we can or cannot use them for environmental justice. So that might be outside the scope of Cambridge Systematics and more of what the TPO can do according to our grant funding.
Anybody else online?
Make a comment.
No, okay, we're back in the room. Dana?
Two questions. Is there somewhere, or can you summarize like what is different between the previous congestion management process and this update? Like what's changing? Is anything changing in the process or just the numbers changing, but that is, obviously updated?
Yeah. Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Elizabeth Watkins, TPO staff. So in full transparency, the last time we systematically updated our congestion management process was probably like 10 years ago. And the federal guidance has changed. So that 8-step process that Praveen walked you all through, we don't have that. So that's a really big structural change that's different from the last time we updated this. So there's been updated rulemakings.
the data availability as well in terms of the sophistication of the speed data that comes in. It has, I think, changed the way we can analyze and dissect it.
And just to the numbers, of course, the numbers will change, of course, if the year is different, but we may include some things we included in the past, we may include some different things, but really the importance of doing this update is we'll have this update and then we'll know how and why we did every single thing and be very transparent. So it makes changes easier in the future.
Okay, and then my second question is feedback on your performance measures. I think that, well, maybe performance measures and also like the strategy tools. I think that for congestion, a lot of it comes down to design. I have to assume that your strategies are going to come down to design of the roadway, the size of the lanes and access management. Also, transportation demand management has a lot of information on how to control traffic and how much there is and where. And so I'm just, I guess, making the suggestion to make sure that TDM is considered, and obviously design, in the strategies. And just to make sure that multimodal infrastructure located at a hotspot, the existence of it shouldn't be the reason that there's congestion. That shouldn't be, like, that would be a concern of mine is an analysis that says, oh, well, there's a bike lane here and that's because the lane is here, it's causing congestion or something like that. It's more about the design of the bike lane and how it's integrated with the intersection and things like that. If anything, I feel that multimodal infrastructure overall reduces congestion because you're taking cars off the road. And so I just want to make sure that that is considered in this analysis, and in the resulting strategies.
Yes, absolutely. I'll just say, first of all, yes, we're not gonna say, oh, you get rid of the crosswalk in the bus stop, the cars can go, but much faster. No, that's not the purpose of this at all.
Yeah.
So absolutely on that. And I just want to ask you, you've seen the experience, you have any?
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about the context and the design aspects, plus the PDM, the demand management, those are definitely the strategies that will be included and considered. So I think you hit the nail on the head, that it will be.
Thank you.
Okay, Stephen. Joe, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In this data that you're going to be bringing back to us, it's not only congestion, but it's also accidents involved that cause some of this. Ms. Adams had a very good question, the factors that are involved in these accidents. Are you also going to incorporate that a vast majority of accidents are caused by people breaking the law? Whether it be DUI, whether it be speeding, racing, tailgating, distracted driving. Are you going to incorporate that into your data that you're going to be bringing back to us?
I'd say again, most of that data we'll be getting from Signal 4, which does include a lot of that because a lot of that's directly from police reports, whatever the officer writes down that's responding. So some of that data is available, I'll say, first of all, before we're including it or not. I would say that is something we could look into, and we probably could include as again, it's basically a table that we could, check or uncheck what we want to investigate. I think it would be to what end the overall role of this. Like, are we trying to say this is a hub for DUI accidents, this is a hub for distracted accidents? That could be an aspect, but before we were just trying to say accidents overall, if we're seeing a lot of injurious accidents or fatal accidents in a specific stretch of road or intersection, that was going to be a red flag for us regardless of the cause. But that data does exist, it could potentially be.
I'd like to see that. We can't stop good people from doing bad things. But a cause of an accident is very important to me on those hotspots that you're going to inform us about. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes.
I think that's what you mentioned, the deep dive of those, identifying the causes of those congestions. I mean, that may be outside of the scope of this project, but those kind of deep dives will be, possible with the data that we'll be gathering.
Yeah, thank you.
Christine?
Thanks. Just to echo what Dana was saying about the importance of design, we know that design means everything for crash avoidance. So I just wanted to, I didn't see anything on the performance, what was the slide we were on for the metric ideas? I didn't see anything about number of crashes, performance metrics like high injury or crashes or multimodal.
Yeah, so I was just on this slide.
Oh, there's another one?
We separated them up because it was long.
Okay,
This
okay,
is all
thanks.
under the broad Vision Zero goals.
Yes, okay, thank you very much. I just was combing that one and I didn't see anything. Believe it or not, our community, our region is growing so much that it's entirely possible that we'll have congestion mitigation that is needed for people and not just vehicles. So I hope the language is forward thinking insofar as there are times, particularly at state and county roads, where there's real congestion of people trying to cross and can barely balance on the small sidewalk that exists there. So congestion mitigation, I hope, has the lens of the movement of people, not vehicles, so that we can also incorporate our transit vehicles and measure the movement of people, and not just vehicles.
You know your point, but very well taken. And I'm hoping as we get more data sources, if we have more granularity in measuring how people are moving, where they're crossing, where there are, crowds building up.
Density.
Yeah,
Yeah.
density building up.
And your colleague Ben did
Yes.
non-motorized counts at many high entry related locations. So that is a great source to bring in.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, further down left side here. No. Right side,
Go back, Spain.
Brandon?
I do just want to comment. I think it's a fantastic project in terms of measuring the data. 'Cause it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know, and knowing where all those issues are is like super important. I am just curious as the scope of the project. Does this include so identified hotspots, obviously, but does this include recommendations on how to alleviate these hotspots, or is it only as far as pointing out they are?
Yes, it does. Yes, strategy development is an aspect. It's one of the 8 steps that is federally recommended, and it's something that we have as a task element for this. So we'll have this toolbox that we're calling it of recommended strategies for a variety of different scenarios. Again, we won't say, so we should do this on Hillsborough Ave here. It's not going to be that specific, but it'll be here are hotspots. Here's a list of tried and tested tools.
Okay, and it'll be several options. It won't just be you should just do this. Exactly, yeah.
Yes, for different options.
Anything online? Okay, well, we've been around the horn in here twice, online twice. Anybody else have something they're just burning to say? Are we good? All right, this is a status report. Nobody's asking for action on it. I thank you.
Thank you all very much for your thoughts. We really appreciate it.
Okay, Sarah, I guess the talking stick goes to you. We have the standing member request item, Roman numeral 8 Bravo, and the standing member request item on the potential merger. One is build and dissolve Hart, the other is a potential merger. You want to just take those up in tandem?
Yes, so we do update on the bill being filed to dissolve Hart, create the Tampa Transit Authority, so I have no updates for you. We'll keep our eye on it. I do have more updates on the potential merger of the Tampa Bay MPOs. Yesterday, actually, we had a workshop, the Suncoast League of Cities hosted it to discuss the role of our smaller cities in a potential merged MPO. So the Suncoast League of City members in attendance at the workshop provided their feedback. That feedback is going to the TMA Leadership Group, the Transportation Management Area Leadership Group, Friday, February 13th. The TMA Leadership Group on the 13th will be asked to make a recommendation if they have a quorum and choose to do so on the role of smaller cities in a regional MPO. And we will be sharing with them the feedback that we heard from the Suncoast League of Cities on that. We are considering a smaller city to generally be about under 50,000. So anyone is welcome to attend the TMA meeting and provide public comment and listen to the conversation. I believe it also has a virtual link. After the TMA meeting in February, the MPO directors will regroup and we anticipate a presentation going to the individual MPO boards sometime this spring. Some of what we present will depend on what we hear and if the TMA has a recommendation. So keep an eye out for that. Friday, February 13th in the morning, I believe it's at 9:30, is that TMA meeting. It is on our calendar. And then keep an eye out for this being on a future agenda.
Any questions or comments for Sarah? No, nothing in here. Anybody online? Okay. That take care of all of our status reports then?
Yes, it does.
Right, now we're into unfinished business and new business. Next CAC meeting is March the 4th at 6 p.m. What's this? Safety Treatment Effectiveness Evaluation. What's that?
Last month, and we mentioned it would be coming before you in March. That is the project that we have undertaken where we are looking at several safety countermeasures specifically to see how they are performing in Hillsborough County or in our partner regions. So for example, this project, one of the projects was implemented. How did that impact crashes, specifically fatal and serious injury crashes before and after? We're looking at the economic costs. So there are several different factors being considered. And so we have a series of projects that we'll present to you. We also have for each of the projects, there's a control. So it's not just this project did this, but a similar corridor that did not have, say, those same projects, how it did at the same time. So you have a sense of, is this just the trend or is it maybe something we can attribute to those particular events? So that is coming before you in March, and we're also going to do, as requested, a safety presentation for you in March.
Okay, very good. Member. Oh, but your hand went up. Member interest in future topic requests. Starting over here on my left, Mr. Citro.
I just am throwing it out to the universe. There is a a letter of intent for a new stadium. At what point can we, or should we start talking about transit options? Sarah, can we make recommendations that the sooner we do that, the more proactive that the TPO is going to be?
This committee is certainly welcome to make a recommendation on that or make note of that to the TPO board.
I'd rather this board be proactive instead of having to wait 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years after that stadium may be built. Start talking about traffic concerns. I did hear that the $1.3 million walk across Dale Mabry at Tampa Bay Boulevard just got naming rights. Aerosmith bought the naming rights.
For the pedestrian bridge?
Yep. And it's going to be called the This Way.
No.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. All right. Love it.
April Fools and.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins.
Anything anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question for you.
Yeah.
My apologies for being a few minutes late this evening. I had some remarks on our meeting minutes from the last CAC meeting. So can I air those? Is there still opportunity to make those remarks or is it water under the bridge?
Well, we've approved the minutes, but
Okay.
if you have something that you think needs fixing, let's hear it.
Well, we had so much dialogue about the Connor's, presentation. And on page 4, Sarah, of the meeting minutes that were sent to us, I moved that we make, in conjunction with the March meeting or the March presentation you just cited about safety and results and findings, that what I had hoped to, the motion was to include and correlate the high injury network with that information that you're preparing for us next month. Not just present, but just, yeah.
I'll take a look because I think we used the recording from the meeting to do
Okay.
it. So I'll just. double
Yeah, I
check our
re-listened to
recording.
it too. There was so much
There's a
going
lot
on.
of back and forth. And
Yeah.
it might be that things got jumbled along the way.
Yeah,
And it's certainly something if you're not getting at the March meeting, we could entertain a motion that maybe it didn't do
okay.
everything.
Thank
We'll
you.
re-listen and see. We tried to, it was hard to follow, and that's a great point for the committee as a whole. It is hard when we go back and forth, and that's why we ask the chairs to restate motions a lot.
Yeah.
To try to get it right.
Thank you.
Okay.
then I just thought it would be helpful, especially for, I've been a member of this committee for a long time, but with our minutes, if we could have a key somewhere at the end that just reminds everybody TIP, UPWP, LRTP, there are so many acronyms, and it just would be nice to kind of spell those out once at the close of the document to just, if people need to cross-reference.
Sure, I'll get with our team. We traditionally do that more when we first introduce an acronym, and we probably can do better on that, so we'll get with them.
I just found myself going, what's that again?
Yeah, we can do that, probably the first time the acronym is introduced,
Okay.
we'll spell it out.
And then the last thing I had was under member interest. So this correlates to today's reiteration of member interest. There was a request to learn more about the city of Tampa's. This is B under member interests. I think it's important to spell out, it's not mobility fees, it's the multimodal impact fee. And I reiterate that as an interest I have here for our group too. What can those funds be used? How are they derived and how can they be used? That is it.
Okay. All right. Well, it's 7:25. We are at the point in the agenda that says adjournment. I have no objection to let people go home early. Is there something we need to talk about?
It's not, one is state road 5, some people are now paying, there's 301 to turn the corridor setting. We do not have a presenter here, but the presentation is in your packet, and you can watch the TC recording if you want to know more about it. And that was also in my email to all of you Monday. And agenda E, the introduction to the 2026 State of the System report, is in your agenda as well. It was also mentioned in my email to you. Elizabeth Watkins is the project manager. She's the one who would have given the presentation if we had it. So just if a committee member has a question about that, Elizabeth is here. And it's certainly a pleasure committee if you want to hear more about it or just send the meeting.
Did anybody actually review that document or that information on the agenda? Joe, you did. Anybody else? If somebody has a question for Elizabeth, they certainly are welcome to pose it, or we can do it outside of the meeting, separate settings.
Could do it via email, or speak with her privately. Since it'll be coming before you as an action. You can't talk about it as a group after the meeting, but you could ask her individually or email me and I'll get it to Elizabeth. And we did email you with some information about it as well. And that will likely come before you this June.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Nope. Their motion to adjourn? Susie offers the motion. Dana seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Like sign. All right. Enjoy your 30 minutes.
Thank you.
Stay out of trouble.
President Clinton.
Yeah.
Ones that people like.
President